Hey guys, welcome back to this video. I am Leia Carla de Gagnon, a student of Early Childhood Education 2I2. For this video, I will be discussing about the listening and comprehending in early childhood education. There are four reading standards in early childhood education. First one is preschool, kindergarten, and early elementary. There are eight strategies in early childhood education to support the listening and comprehending skills of the young children. There are eight actually. So the first one is developing vocabulary. The second is questioning. Third, active listening. Fourth, linguistic scaffolding. Fifth, mediation. Sixth, conflict resolution. Seventh, increasing wait time. And lastly, applying SIOP. First one is developing vocabulary. So the question is, how are we going to develop the vocabulary of the children in kindergarten level? So first one is to make conversation. If you make conversation, they are able to learn some new words during the conversation, and they are also able to express their feelings, experiences, and thoughts during that conversation. And it is better and effective to start an open-ended question. Yes. Second one is use labels. As what you have observed in a preschool classroom or a kindergarten classroom, there are a lot of words or labels in each objects or items in every corner of the classroom. It is because so that the young children will able to identify and be familiar with some of the words. And also they will know, and also that it is reading together. Reading together such like storytelling. Children are very they like stories like fairy tales, fables, and any other stories that they are interested, especially like princess stories, right? So when you are reading together, or like when you tell the children stories, and also they will able to like ask or be curious about the words that they are not yet familiar with. So for that, they are able to expand their vocabulary. The next one is introduce a word for the day. It is one of the most effective strategy or like way to develop the vocabulary of the young children. It is because every day they have something new, or like they have a new word. If that children is not yet able to understand the word catch, you will introduce them the word for the day. For example, the word for the day is catch, and catch is a verb, and also you will give example sentences so that they will understand how to use the word catch. And by that, you will also encourage those students or young learners to use the word of the day in their conversation with their friends or even with their parents. And by that, I could say that giving a word for the day is a very effective way to expand the vocabulary of the young children. One is questioning. So the question is, how are we going to apply this strategy to support and to develop the listening and comprehending skills of the young children in kindergarten level? So I came up with some applications. So the first one is participate in a collaborative conversation. So as a future educator, I will try or like apply this way. Just like for an example, giving some starting with a conversation or a participative storytelling or questioning. But of course, I will always keep in mind that asking questions, open-ended questions, are the very best or like the effective way to start a conversation, and so that the children were able to think and analyze or understand. The other one is listening and taking turns. So this is applied when, just for an example, giving the students an activity or a partner activity. Let's say Steven and Mark are partners. So first one, Steven will have they turn to listen to his partner Mark, and during that conversation, Mark will also take turns to be the one who listening, and Stephen will be asking questions. You will also it was also effective as an educator to like give them some ideas or topics to discuss, just like an example about ocean or a zoo, so that they will be interested in that topic, and also they will both important is questioning strategy is. So first one, if you are curious about something, it is way better to ask your teacher or your parent about something. Have you noticed? I have noticed that some of the young children are, yes, very curious, just like one of my neighbor, a 4-year-old young children named Alexa. Every time she saw something that's very interesting in shapes, colors, she will always ask like, "Unsa ni ate? Unsay gamit ani ate?" So by that, you will also, as a more knowledgeable one, or an let's just say an adult, you will give answers, and you will give answers to that young children, so that it will cater their curiosity. And why questioning is important is to predict what will happen. Just for an example, in a story, in a kindergarten setting, just if a teacher is like having a storytelling, the children or the young children will able to predict what will happen when every time there's a questions that the teacher will ask. Just for an example, a story about the grasshopper and the ant. So what will happen when the teacher tried to ask what happened to the grasshopper? What will happen to the grasshopper if he didn't collect foods during summer? So that by that, the student will also like dig deeper in their understanding of like how are they going to answer it. And also questioning is important. It is because to make something clear. So of course, if you are curious, or you haven't understand the story or the lesson well, the children will always ask about something that they didn't understand, and through that, it will also test their listening skills or comprehension skills if they really listen in your discussion. So it is better if the students if a student have a lot of questions, it means that student or that young learner is very an active listener, which we'll be discussing later on. So the next one is active listening. Active listening is to have the full attention and trying to understand what is the message or the complete message about. So what is the importance of being an active listening or an active listener in kindergarten? The first one is to have a fewer misunderstanding, faster work rate, more self-reliance, and improved productivity. So how are we going to apply this active listening strategy in kindergarten? The first one is to maintain eye contact. In having a conversation or a class discussion in a kindergarten classroom, an educator should always have a eye contact towards his or her students, so that the students have the feelings or like the thoughts that you are very well participative, and also having or making an eye contact towards your student is a very important, so that it will build a rapport towards your students, and also it will give these students they will also give their full attention towards what you have discussed or like what you are talking about. The next one is don't interrupt, and also ask questions, repeat back what the speaker says, listen for total meaning. When it comes to talking or discussion, you will always give instructions towards your students that if they have some questions or concerns, they will raise their hands and tell them that if they have concerns, so that you will cater concerns during your discussion. However, it is not encouraged to interrupt the conversation. When it comes to talking or discussion, you will always give instructions towards your students that if they have some questions or concerns, they will raise their hands and told them that they strategies. It is also effective to give activities such like partner conversations and daily listening activities. Daily listening activities, it includes you as a teacher, or like in my case as a future educator, I will be during giving instructions to my students, I will encourage them to have their full ears and attention towards me, so that they will understand what I have discussed and what are the instructions that I give during any activities in my class, in my future classes. Is linguistic scaffolding. So linguistic scaffolding is breaking up the learning into chunks and providing the tool as an educator. So how are we going to apply linguistic scaffolding in kindergarten level? So first one is the show and tell. When it comes to like discussion, you will, of course, there are most of the learners in kindergarten are visual learners, so they are able to to give more understanding about the words or the story if they have a visual aids or pictures that they could see. The next one is tap into the prior knowledge. Tapping into prior knowledge, it includes asking the students about their own experience and feelings, or like their prior knowledge about that topic. You will give time to talk. You will always give time, or like you will allot enough time for your students to answer or to talk, or like you will also have take turns in talking, so that they will able to share their ideas and thoughts about that. Next is usual visual aids. Just like what I have said earlier, that some of the students in kindergarten are visual learners, so they will understand more when they see the photos or with the visual aids about the topic or the discussions. Next is pause, ask questions, pause, and review. Of course, you will not always like the facing of your discussion is not like fast facing. You should pause and then ask questions to make the discussions more clearer to your students. Verifications to your students, or to cater some questions from your students in kindergarten. You will not forget about the assessment or review of what they have understand during the discussions. So another strategy is the mediation. So what is mediation? Mediation is to determine the child's level of prior knowledge and experiences. Educator should think about the way we could improve and enrich the experience we are offering. So how are we going to apply this? So it includes language scaffolding, just like what I have said or what I have discussed earlier. The next one is action plan to encourage the students to learn. In encouraging the students to learn, always remember that learning, we should apply fun in learning, so that conflict resolutions. When we talk about conflict, of course, there's a problem or misunderstanding towards both two parties. So how are we going to apply this conflict resolution to support the listening and comprehending skills of kindergarten? First is to help them verbalize their feelings. Of course, as an educator, you will encourage your students to express their feelings if they feel excited, if they are angry or mad towards their classmates. You will always said that you will encourage them to be honest of what they really felt. Next is to practice conflict scenarios. You will give some problem solving or like conflict scenarios to your students, so that the time will come they know how they are going to resolve it. Next is the model good behavior. Always remember that as an educator, we should be the one to be the good model for our students. So of course, you will practice and show what good values and right conduct, so that they will able to follow it and also apply it in their lives, even within the school premises or even at their houses. Is to praise the student when they are able to resolve a conflict on their own. Of course, it will encourage, it will give a self-confidence to the students if you, as a teacher, you will able to acknowledge the good things that they have done. One is increasing the wait time. From the word itself, wait time. So as an educator, you will not always put pressure towards your students that when you give a questions, you will expect that they will die. One is increasing wait time. So increasing wait time is very important for the students to, of course, students always need enough time to think about the questions and to think about what are they going to respond, and think takes longer than the second or the last that the students. So, as an educator, if you will put pressure to your students to if you shouldn't expect that when you give the questions or when you ask the questions, the students will answer it correctly. Of course not. As in kindergarten level, they will always take time to understand and to process the answers that they are going to respond to you. And according to my research, that higher or the longer that you will give the wait time to your students in responding, they will provide you a high quality response with the right given time. Is applying SIOP in kindergarten. SIOP is a model that promotes and respect for the diversity that fosters cognitive and language development. According to my research, there are 8 components in SIOP. The first one is the lesson preparation, building background, comprehensible input, strategies, interactions, practice and applications, lesson delivery, and review and assessments. So in this classroom setting, in my own opinion or in my own application, so I will be giving instructions to my students to have to draw something to draw what they are interested in. Just like, for example, if Alexa, a 4-year-old student, or a 5-year-old student, Alexa, draw a cat. So, of course, that will be as a lesson preparation. Next is for the role play. Role playing and answering questions. This will goes under the comprehensible input. So, they will determine their understanding and comprehension. Next is listen and retell. Of course, it applies in storytelling. Then next is follow instructions. It includes as a teacher, you will give instructions to your students and it will apply demonstrations. This includes with visual aids and discussion proper, or a small circle of conversation in a kindergarten level. Next is this demonstrate and distinguish. Lastly is record. This belongs to the review and assessment. Of course, after discussions or after a conversation with your students, always remember to make a assessment so that it will help you to determine what are the domains of development that you should cater or put some improvement with. Conclusion, I do believe that these 8 strategies that supports the listening and comprehending skills in early childhood education is a great help for me as a future early childhood educator, as it will help me to use these strategies or applications in my future field of teaching. So I hope you guys learn about a lot. We all, guys. So I hope you learn a lot from me in this video discussion. So see you in the next video. Bye.